Introduction. In the last engagement, the Hacker Playbook 2, you were tasked with breaking into the Cyber Kittens weapons facility. They are now back with their brand new space division called Cyberspace Kittens, CSK. This new division took all the lessons learned from the prior security assessment to harden their systems, set up a local security operations center, and even create security policies. They have hired you to see if all of their security controls have helped their overall posture. From the little details we have picked up, it looks like Cyberspace Kittens has discovered a secret planet located in the Great Andromeda Nebula or Andromeda Galaxy. This planet, located on one of the two spiral arms, is referred to as Kit 3N. Kit 3N, whose size is double that of Earth, resides in the binary system called OI 31337 with a star that is also twice the size of Earth's star. This creates a potentially habitable environment with oceans, lakes, plants, and maybe even life. With the hope of new life, water, and another viable planet, the space race is real. CSK has hired us to perform a red team assessment to make sure they are secure, and capable of detecting and stopping a breach. Their management has seen and heard of all the major breaches in the last year and want to hire only the best. This is where you come in. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to find all the external and internal vulnerabilities, use the latest exploits, use chained vulnerabilities, and see if their defensive teams can detect or stop you. What types of tactics, threats, and procedures are you going to have to employ? In this campaign, you are going to need to do a ton of reconnaissance and discovery, look for weaknesses in their external infrastructure, social engineer employees, privilege escalate, gain internal network information, move laterally throughout the network, and ultimately exfiltrate Kit 3N systems and databases. Penetration testing teams vs Red Team S. Before we can dive into the technical ideals behind red teams, I need to clarify my definitions of penetration testing and red teams. These words get thrown around often and can get a little mixed up. For this book, I want to talk about how I will use these two terms. Penetration testing is the more rigorous and methodical testing of a network, application, hardware, etc. If you haven't already, I recommend that you read the Penetration Testing Execution Standard, PTES, http://www.penteststandard.org. It is a great walkthrough of how to perform an assessment. In short, you go through all the motions of scoping, intel gathering, vulnerability analysis, exploitation, post-exploitation, and reporting. In the traditional network test, we usually scan for vulnerabilities, find and take advantage of an exploitable system or application, maybe do a little post-exploitation, find domain admin, and write up a report. These types of tests create a matrix of vulnerabilities, patching issues, and very actionable results. Even during the scope creation, penetration tests are very well defined, limited to a 1 or 2-week assessment period, and are generally announced to the company's internal security teams. Companies still need penetration testers to be a part of their secure software development lifecycle, SSDLC. Nowadays, even though companies have vulnerability management programs, SSDLC programs, penetration testers, incident response teams/programs, and many of the very expensive security tools, they still get compromised. If we look at any of the recent breaches, http://www.informationisbeautiful.net/visualizations/world's-biggest-data breaches-hacks, we see that many of these happen to very large and mature companies. We have seen in other security reports that some compromises could have lasted longer than 6 months before they were detected. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/sony_pictures_hack. There are also some reports that state that almost 1/3 of all businesses were breached in 2017. https://www.securityplanet.com/network security/almost 1/3 of all U.S. businesses were breached in 2017.html. The questions I want companies to ask are if these exact same bad guys or actor sets came after your company with the exact same tactics, could you detect it? How long would it take? Could you recover from it? And could you figure out exactly what they did? This is where red teams come into play. The red team's mission is to emulate the tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, by adversaries. The goals are to give real-world and hard facts on how a company will respond, find gaps within a security program, identify skill gaps within employees, and ultimately increase their security posture. For red teams, it is not as methodical as penetration tests. Since we are simulating real-world events, every test can differ significantly. Some campaigns might have a focus on getting personally identifiable information, PII, or credit cards, while others might focus on getting domain administrative control. Speaking of domain admin, this is where I see a huge difference between penetration tests and red team campaigns. For network pentests, we love getting to domain admin, DI, to gain access to the domain controller, DC, and calling it a day. For red team campaigns, based on the campaign, we may ignore the DC completely. One reason for this is that we are seeing many companies placing a lot of protection around their DCS. They might have application whitelisting, integrity monitoring, lots of IDS/IPS/HIPS rules, and even more. Since our mission is not to get caught, we need to stay low-key. Another rule we follow is that we almost never run a vulnerability scan against the internal network. How many adversaries have you seen start to perform full vulnerability scans once inside a compromised environment? This is extremely rare. Why? Vulnerability scans are very loud on the network and will most likely get caught in today's world. Another major difference in the scope is the timeline. With penetration tests, we are lucky to get 2 weeks, if not 1. Whereas, red teams must build campaigns that last from 2 weeks to 6 months. This is because we need to simulate real attacks, social engineering, beaconing, and more. Lastly, the largest difference is the outcome of the 2 types of teams. Instead of a list of vulnerabilities, red team findings need to be geared more toward gaps in blue team processes, policies, tools, and skills. In your final report, you may have some vulnerability findings that were used for the campaign, but most findings will be gaps in the security program. Remember, findings should be mainly for the security program, not IT. Penetration tests, red team's methodical security assessments, pre-engagement interactions, flexible security assessments, intelligence gathering, initial foothold. Intelligence gathering, vulnerability analysis, exploitation, post-exploitation reporting, persistence / local privilege escalation, local / network enumeration, lateral movement, data identification / exfiltration, domain privilege escalation / dumping hashes, reporting scope. Restrictive scope 1 to 2 week engagement, generally announced, identify vulnerabilities, scope, no rules * 1 week, 6-month engagement, no announcement, test blue teams on program, policies, tools, and skills * can't be illegal. With red teams, we need to show value back to the company. It isn't about the number of total vulnerability counts or criticality of individual vulnerabilities, it is about proving how the security program is running. The goal of the red team is to simulate real-world events that we can track. Two strong metrics that evolve from these campaigns are time to detect, TTD, and time to mitigate, TTM. These are not new concepts, but still valuable ones for red teams. What does time to detect, TTD, mean? It is the time between the initial occurrence of the incident to when an analyst detects and starts working on the incident. Let's say you have a social engineering email and the user executes malware on their system. Even though their AV, host-based security system, or monitoring tools might trigger, the time recorded is when the analyst creates that first ticket. Time to mitigate, TTM, is the secondary metric to record. This timeline is recorded when the firewall block, DNS sinkhole, or network isolation is implemented. The other valuable information to record is how the security teams work with IT, how management handles a critical incident, and if employees panic. With all this data, we can build real numbers on how much your company is at risk, or how likely it is to be compromised. Summary: the big push I want to make is for managers to get outside the mentality of relying on metrics from audits. We all have reasons for compliance and they can definitely help mature our programs, but they don't always provide real-world security for a company. As red teamers, our job is to test if the overall security program is working. As you read through this book, I want you to put yourself in the red team mindset and focus on vulnerabilities and security, not IT. Simulate real-world events. Live in a world of constant red team infections. Challenge the system. Provide real data to prove security gaps.